We will definitely also talk about the article in the Washington Post, which describes how Ukrainian intelligence agencies are preparing further operations against Russia, according to reliable sources of the Post. So there will be a lot of interesting things ahead. And, I mentioned the summer-autumn campaign of Ukraine's defense forces. It is ongoing. We can expect some good, pleasant surprises for us, and accordingly, some unpleasant ones for the enemy as well. We will definitely talk about this. Stay tuned to the channel and you'll know more, including about this topic. But now, let's talk about Musk and Trump, because there is a Russian connection there as well. It's a very interesting aspect of this story. It's not just in this story. Obviously, it also concerns the Trump administration because, as you know, it was discovered that the US Deputy Secretary of State has certain connections also with the Russian mafia, for example, which you'll agree is quite an unusual situation and probably not very acceptable, at least for holding such a high-level position. But getting back to Trump and Musk, well, it's probably no surprise that Trump and Musk will have a falling out. This has been mentioned more than once. Do you know who follows updates on my channel? I warned that the romance between this sweet couple clearly wouldn't last long. But what's the most important thing here? Why is observation in this situation important? First, this is one of those cases when a representative of big business, obviously not alone, since he is united and has allies from Silicon Valley, from the high-tech industry, that is, from the very industry of innovation and technology. This is what some economists and commentators now call techno-capitalism. And it is precisely the representatives of this elite who are Elon Musk's allies. In fact, the owner of SpaceX and Tesla himself is such a representative of the tech giants. And so he, as a representative of this corporation or these corporations, is challenging the current authorities because no more and no less, Musk is calling for the impeachment of Trump, and obviously the US president may or may not face problems because of this. And now we will discuss this in detail. The thing is, just a few months ago, Elon Musk hinted that he would invest $100 million in political committees associated with Donald Trump. That money never arrived and now it won't, according to Elon Musk's advisor. I quote, "He doesn't care about the Republicans. The Republican National Committee, seats in the House of Representatives or anything else," said Musk's advisor. "He will undermine them. He will do it." Musk's advisor told NBC. It's interesting, how exactly will he undermine them, actually? Well, it's quite possible maybe he'll give them a Tesla that will self-destruct. By the way, I want to remind you that even President Trump took a ride in a Tesla, which is not really typical for him, because I want to point out that Trump's campaign and the Republicans in general were built on the idea that global warming isn't all that global, and maybe it's not even warming at all. Although I think that many of us are experiencing this ourselves, the fluctuations in temperature and the natural anomalies that are occurring, they are of course cyclical, because if you read the historical sagas from the Viking era, you'll find that somehow on Newfoundland the island off the coast of Canada, when the Vikings advanced, reaching Greenland, then Iceland, and eventually Newfoundland, which is actually near Canada. According to the historical epics, the Vikings grew grapes there. This would clearly be impossible at those latitudes if the temperature there was what it is now. Well, that was just a lyrical digression. But when it comes to fossil fuels, Trump and his team have their own stance, although he did ride in a Tesla. And coming back to Musk, right now there's a split among the Republicans, and in fact there's a split within Trump's own party. "I'm staying out of it," said Representative Don Bacon, who represents a competitive district in Nebraska. "There's a good verse in Proverbs, stay away from quarrels. I'm staying out of this one." That's what the Republicans are actually saying. But I want to remind you that with Trump's impeachment, Musk is proposing an option in which US Vice President J.D. Vance should take over the presidency, which is not surprising, because that's what the American Constitution stipulates. and that's how it should be. It's interesting, maybe J.D. Vance was nominated for vice president right away so that he could replace Trump. That possibility can be ruled out, because I want to remind you there are many theories, call them conspiratorial, secret plots, conspiracy theories, and so on. But still, many people have said that Trump might not finish his term for certain reasons. I don't know which one, so I won't comment, maybe even impeachment. That can't be completely ruled out before the end of his term. In that case, J.D. Vance would take the position. And J.D. Vance, in turn, has good connections with representatives of that very same techno-capitalism, the tech giants. He advocates for digital currencies and supports many things that, by the way, are not supported by many traditional Republicans, including those from the MAGA wing who align themselves with Trump. And overall, without Musk's funding, the Republicans' chances of retaining a majority in Congress are significantly reduced, especially in the House of Representatives, where competition is traditionally higher. In the Senate, the losses may be smaller due to the lower number of seats up for re-election, but the risk remains. A public quarrel with Musk could damage Trump's image among some voters who associate Musk with economic success and technological progress. This could influence moderate Republicans and independent voters. Overall, the chances of retaining the majority are estimated to be low, around 20 to 30%, considering historical trends, loss of funding, and potential political missteps by Donald Trump. That's the situation. I want to remind you that there isn't much time left until the midterm elections for the upper chamber of the US Congress, the Senate. These midterm elections are set to take place in a year, and Trump could lose the majority there. Even now, divisions among Republicans are being observed on certain issues. This isn't just about Putin, Russian aggression, countering it, or in general the foreign policy pursued by Donald Trump. It also concerns domestic issues. In fact, the quarrel, the divergence of opinions, and the public debates between Trump and Musk are specifically about taxes, budget funding, or more precisely, expenditures, because Musk holds the view that these expenditures need to be reduced. Meanwhile, Trump and his supporters want to increase spending on certain items. Interestingly, Musk is now publicly blackmailing Trump by threatening to release videos that were allegedly recorded at parties hosted by Jeffrey Epstein, the controversial financier who was known for his connections to many powerful individuals. At these gatherings, a lot of things reportedly happened, some of which could be highly damaging if made public. Musk insists that Trump was there, and there is some serious compromising material that many people would not like. Moreover, there is a theory that, as a matter of fact, it is believed by some that videos of Trump at Epstein's parties are actually reportedly in the possession of the Russian intelligence services and Putin. In other words, it seems there is a trend where Musk is now blackmailing Trump with the same things that Putin could use to blackmail him. This raises the question of how close the current ties might be between the Russians and Musk, or with many other representatives of the MAGA movement. Although the MAGA representatives did not support Musk, because, for example, former Donald Trump advisor Steve Bannon stated that Musk should be expelled from the country altogether. Well, that's how it is. That's why the confrontation is escalating. But why did I mention the Russian connection at the beginning of the video? I think you understand that. Will this mean the immediate start of impeachment proceedings against Trump? The question remains open. It's not out of the question that at some point this could happen. But Trump has gained a serious enemy in the form of Musk. Of course, all sorts of things have happened in US history, but politicians have always had the final say, and neither tech giants nor any major capitalists have ever managed to achieve anything in a fight against the state machine and the system. But those were different times, with different technologies. Now we are experiencing digital transformation and the era of post-truth. Just as Musk helped Trump come to power, he can just as easily contribute to Trump's departure. The question is what will come instead and how things will be instead, how J.D. Vance will behave. But there is another version as well. And what if this is simply a political performance, where Trump is trying to distract from something more important, from the issue of tariffs, from the question of why he isn't putting pressure on Putin, from the matter of the Iran deal, from the issue of the Yemeni Houthis, who still haven't been defeated by the US air campaign, Israel, Hamas, China, and many, many other things.